Vietnam veteran helicopter pilot receives the Medal of Honor for a daring rescue. He received the Medal of Honor today to commend his efforts in the Vietnam War during a reconnaissance mission. He later received the medal from President Biden, which we'll take a look at that here in a second. Let's read this. Washington, President Joe Biden awarded the Medal of Honor to Captain Larry Taylor on Tuesday, honoring the Army pilot who risked his life during the Vietnam War by flying into heavy enemy fire to save our four members of a reconnaissance team from almost certain death as they were about to be overrun. On the night of June 18, 1968, then First Lieutenant Taylor flew his Cobra attack helicopter to rescue the men after they had been surrounded by the enemy. It was pitch black, no moon, no stars, no light beyond the glow of Lieutenant Taylor's cockpit control. When he heard a whisper coming through the radio, "We're surrounded," Biden said, adding, "Lieutenant Taylor knew the risk, but he was ready." Taylor, a Tennessean who is now 81, recalled in an interview last week that he had to figure out a way how to get his men out, otherwise they wouldn't make it. David Hill, one of the four Taylor survived that night, said his actions were what we now call thinking outside the box. Hill and others were on a night mission to track the movement of the enemy troops in a village near the Saigon River. When they were discovered by North Vietnamese, the Viet Cong troops, an intense firefight ensued and they soon were running out of ammunition. They radioed for help. Taylor arrived in minutes at the site northeast of what is now Ho Chi Minh City. He asked the team to send up flares to mark the location in the dark. Taylor and the pilot in the accompanying helicopter started firing their ship's miniguns and rockets at the enemies, making low-level attack runs and braving intense ground fire for about half an hour. But with both helicopters nearly out of ammunition and the enemy continuing to advance, Taylor surveyed the team's intended escape route to a point near the river and concluded that the men would never make it. He had to think of something else. Now running low on fuel and almost out of ammunition himself, Taylor directed his wingmen to fire the rounds left in the minigun along with the team's eastern flank and to return to the base camp. While Taylor fired his remaining rounds on the western flank, he used the landing lights to distract the enemy, buying time for the patrol team to head southeast toward a new extraction point he had identified. After they arrived, Taylor landed under heavy enemy fire and at a great personal risk. The 14 members rushed towards the helicopter and clung to the exterior. It only had 2 seats, and Taylor whisked them away to safety. He was on the ground for about 10 seconds. "I finally just flew up behind them and sat down on the ground," Taylor said by telephone. "They turned around and jumped on the aircraft. A couple were sitting on the skids. One was sitting on the rocket pods, and I don't know where the other one was, but they beat on the side of the ship twice, which meant haul ASS, and we did." During the medal ceremony, Biden said that Taylor's aircraft was hit multiple times and that, according to Army standards, he could have left the fight. At one point, the president said Taylor was directed to withdraw, but he refused to put his own life above the lives of those in need. Very commendable. "That's valor," Biden said. "That's our nation at its best." The Army said that what Taylor did that night had never been attempted. The president, whose wife, First Lady Joe Biden, tested positive on Monday for COVID, and Taylor wore a face mask to start the ceremony, but both later removed them and later stood together, maskless, as Biden placed the Medal of Honor. Taylor shook his hand and saluted him. In an interview before the ceremony, Taylor said he flew hundreds of combat missions in UH-1 and Cobra helicopters during a year's deployment in Vietnam. "We never lost a man," he said. "You just do whatever is expected and do whatever to save the lives of the people you're trying to rescue," he said. Taylor left Vietnam in August 1968. He was released from the Army's active duty in August 1970, having attended the ranks of captain, and was discharged from the Army Reserve in 1973. He later ran a roofing and sheet metal company in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He and his wife, Toni, live in Signal Mountain, Tennessee. Taylor received scores of combat decorations, including the Silver Star, a Bronze Star, and 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses. The president noted that all told, Taylor flew more than 2,000 combat missions, earning 43 air medals. 2,000 combat missions? That's impressive. Wow. Thank God he's not wearing all of them on his chest. He'd have trouble standing, Biden joked. That's kind of funny, actually. Still, Hill said in an interview that he and Taylor's Other supporters were shocked to learn over the years that Taylor had not been awarded a Medal of Honor. Hill said they believe Taylor deserved the medal, the military's highest decoration for service members who go above and beyond the call of duty, often risking their lives through selfless acts of valor. Their campaign lasted more than 6 years. Biden called Taylor in July with the news. Biden said Tuesday that Taylor didn't see some of the men that he rescued that night in 1968 until decades later at Army reunions. But the greatest honor of all, the family showed up at these reunions too, Biden said. They looked for Harry. They'd hug him. They say, "You don't know me, but you saved my daddy's life." Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's a great man right there. Medal of Honor. Great, great man. Here's that ceremony with Biden and his very brief interaction with the Vietnam veteran receiving the Medal of Honor after he gives him the medal and walks off the stage for some apparent reason. Let's watch this.
And tonight, a lot on deck, including a new scheme to get Donald Trump. Democrats, they would like to now use the 14th Amendment to our Constitution to remove Donald Trump from the ballot. Forget the people deciding. They will decide. We're going to get expert legal analysis. That's straight ahead tonight. Plus, James Comer, Jim Jordan, they will join us with disturbing new developments from Biden's weaponized Department of Justice and their alleged interference in the Hunter Biden probe, where we have the highest levels of your government being used to protect both Hunter and Joe Biden at all costs. And in just moments, ESPN host, our buddy Stephen A. Smith, he will be here with more on why he thinks Joe Biden should not be our next president. Apparently he's supporting Gavin Newsom. Anyway, he's not alone in terms of not liking Joe, far from it. All right, look at this. According to a new Wall Street Journal poll, 73% of you, the American people, you believe Biden is too old to run for re-election. Now, the same poll found that 2/3 of Democrats, they also think Joe Biden is too old for another term. Right on cue, today the president got confused and dazed and, well, he walked out during a Medal of Honor ceremony before the event was even over. Please, somebody help this guy. Take a look.
So prior to this, his wife did test positive for COVID-19, and there he is breathing down, probably sniffing his neck while he gives him the Medal of Honor. And where you going, Mr. President? Why are you leaving him on the stage like that? It's kind of effed up. Come on, dude. Come on, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me for the benediction.
Can someone show me where the ice cream machine is? Anyway, by the way, in a half-hearted attempt at virtue signaling, well, Biden is wearing a face mask once again, but apparently takes it off in crowded rooms. Looks like he's trying to follow the science, his version of it anyway, again. Or maybe the instructions on the note card weren't very clear or written in big enough font. White House staffers, they're always telling Joe where to stand, what to do, who to talk to, what questions to ask.
Oh, no, he just forgot, guys. Whoops, daisy.
Who to call on, what to say, and probably what to wear in the morning. So today, our very own Peter Doocy asked a very obvious question. Why does the White House treat Joe Biden like the big baby he is? Look at this.
Commander-in-Chief.
Oldest president in U.S. history.
That's ridiculous.
When staff brought back what sounded like a call for regime change in Russia, the president, quote, rather than owning his failure, he fumed to friends about how he was treated like a toddler. Was John Kennedy ever babied like that?
So look, I'll say this. There's going to be a range, always a range of books.
Kennedy ever babied like that?
So look, I'll say this. There's going to be a range, always a range of books that are about every administration, as you know, that's going to have a variety of claims. That is not unusual. That happens all the time. And we're not going to litigate those here. That's something that we're not going to speak to.
The simple truth, the complete reality is this. Your President Joe Biden is incapable of doing even the most simple, the most basic tasks. So his staffers are now forced to spoon feed him everything. Biden's mental and physical struggles are also probably why he spends so much time on vacation. You know, so far, 40% of his days are spent away from the White House, a whopping 380.
Slacker in Chief Biden keeps up record 40% vacation faces.
4 days so far, and he hasn't even finished 3 years. He is now on track to take more time off than any other president in the history of this country. Much of it at the beach, as you can see in his beach chair, which he struggles to pull around. And according to Joe, he's actually not on vacation. That's what he said.
Right after that, when he was on the beach, a reporter actually tried to ask him about the fire, and he just casually strolls off and says, "Oh, no comment. Oh, no, thank you."
Said he's now apparently homeless. You can't make this stuff up. Take a look.
By the way, the reason I'm here today, just for one day, I know I'm on vacation. I'm not. I have no home to go to. The Secret Service has torn my house up in a good way to make it secure. So I have no place to go when I come to Delaware except here right now.
Now, the Associated Press, which usually fawns over Joe Biden, put it this way, quote, "I have no home to go to," said Biden, who lives at the White House and on weekdays and spends most of his weekends in Delaware, where he has not one but two homes. Now, despite all of his days at the beach, Joe still has not found the time to visit the environmental disaster known as East Palestine in Ohio, as promised all the way back in March. Biden actually told reporters that he just hasn't been able to get a break long enough to make the 30-minute flight from D.C. to Ohio. Take a look.
Well, I haven't had the occasion to go to East Palestine. There's a lot going on here, and I just haven't been able to break. I was thinking whether I'd go to East Palestine this week, but I then was reminded I've got to go literally around the world. I'm going from Washington to India to Vietnam and so it's going to be a while.
Maybe a few less days on the beach, and you'd be able to find the time. Here's another more plausible.
Come on, Joe. You can do whatever the heck you want to do, dude. Just go visit these people. Show some respect, dude.
Explanation. Biden just doesn't simply care about the people of East
Yeah, you got time for the beach? Look at you right there.
Palestine and Ohio. He'd rather be living it up with Hunter at a mansion on Lake Tahoe or in a beach in Delaware day after day. Joe only visited Maui after getting shamed into finally acknowledging his innocent 4-year-old granddaughter. And in both Maui and Florida, Biden obsessively talked about what else? Himself, comparing the death to destruction to a tiny, small kitchen fire in his mansion that was put out in less than 20 minutes back in 2004. It contained, by the way, the fire was contained to just the kitchen. Not exactly the devastation Florida and Hawaii have faced. Biden boasting that he almost lost his Corvette and his cat. It was horrible. And between the lies, by the way, the lack of empathy, the sheer utter incompetence, Biden is hemorrhaging support even among his base. Look at this. In 2020, Biden won 70% of non-white voters in that election. But according to a New York Times Siena poll, only 53% of non-white voters now support Biden in a hypothetical matchup against Donald Trump. Joe Biden will not be elected with those numbers. Period. End of sentence. Now, one well-connected biographer with ties to the White House is openly admitting that it won't be a shock if Biden does drop out of the race. But it's not just his age and his terrible leadership. Tonight, Biden is also dealing with very serious corruption claims, what we call the Biden bribery, money laundering allegation scandal that is simmering. Former senior Trump advisor, he'll join.
Fake names, fake LLCs, fake emails, and all of the above. He refuses to turn these over and be transparent. Well, that's just what they do with the Democrats.
Join us in a minute, Stephen Miller. He's now suing the National Archives. Why? He has to force them to release Biden's government emails related to his son's business. We're told that the last batch released by the archives, they were fully redacted. In other words, they were useless. More obfuscation, more delays, more...
If Hunter had the last name Trump, he'd be in jail right now, as well as the presidents. But no, they're Democrats. They get special treatment for some reason. What the heck? Come on, man. Anyway, guys, like, comment, subscribe. See you on the next one.